Uh, I'm glad we got that out of the way. We got the introductions out of the way. I'd love to learn more about you. So we'll open up a discussion online and have the first discussion in as introductions of your own selves and where you're coming from, uh, whether you worked, whether you're taking any courses in leadership. So I'd love to learn more about each one of you individually, and also please introduce yourselves to your peers. And this will be a peer-to-peer learning model as well. So your interactions with each other and with me are equally important. So let's go through the structure of this course briefly and try and understand how this is structured. So there are 6 modules in this course as I've outlined, and I'll read out the objectives, but essentially the objectives are to help you identify your own leadership style. One of the most important things for any leader across the board, whether for-profit or non-profit, is to be self-aware, to be articulate, to be able to speak, to be able to communicate, not just speak, but communicate effectively, send your message across to your target audience and get the desired impact. And of course, lead with a certain value framework which is coherent and which is understandable to your followers and to your own self. I mean, you need to have an internal moral compass, if you will. So I'm bringing a perspective of leadership which is rooted in various traditions, as you will see in this course, but essentially also helping you. One of the core objectives of this course is also to help you understand what differentiates a mission-driven organization from a non-mission driven organization, because one of the biggest differences, we'll unravel this through the course, but one of the biggest and most salient differences of a mission-driven organization and a non-mission driven organization is the core mission, or the principle of service that's at the heart of most organizations. And we'll learn the differences between the nuances rather, as we go along. And another field which I feel is important and tangentially related to leadership is that of conflict resolution and peace building. I bring in one component of that towards the later part of the course, but that's something I wanted to put out up front and tell you that I'm coming from a perspective of peace studies, conflict resolution studies, nonprofit management, because each of these items or each of these subfields have a lot to add when it comes to nonprofit management and leadership. So we have 4 prescribed books. Each one of them is extremely inexpensive and easy to read. These could be considered scholarly books, and in fact they have been written by scholars and practitioners, and again coming from various fields. So the first one is The Moral Imagination, which is by Jean-Paul Ledrock, which is can be considered a classic in its own right, and extensively used in peace studies. The second book is Getting to Yes. Some of you in the business world may have read this or may not have read it. Again, a very, very important book about negotiation and the positionality of negotiators. The third book which I prescribed is Good to Great and the Social Sectors by Jim Collins. He's a very important business writer and a scholar. And the fourth book, which I don't have a hard copy in front of me, is Steve Sample's The Contrarian's Guide to Leadership. Steve Sample, for those who do not know him, was the former president of USC, University of Southern California. It's an excellent read, and I have included that because it's a very, very, as the title suggests, a very unique book, and one that must be included in all leadership courses. So we have 6 modules. We have these 4 books. There are a few additional articles as well, scholarly articles, as well as some from popular media, which I've included, as you will see in the syllabus. I expect you to read all of them, so all of them are required. As and when I come across something interesting or important, I might send it to you, depending on how the course is going. But as of today, all these readings are required. And as I mentioned earlier, these are very inexpensive books. I have been a student in the past, so I realize money could be a constraint. So I have chosen books which are also easily available on Amazon or in the library, and I will also put these on hold at the library. Please confirm with me if these are not on hold at the library on the main campus. Northern Virginia, I do not know the availability, so depending on your location, you might explore that option. But in any case, I would highly recommend you buy these books, simply because these are books that you should have. So that's about the books, the course, goals and expectations. The goal essentially of the course is to help you become aware of yourself as a leader, to also understand and appreciate your own style, and to evolve one if you don't have one, and also to test this newly evolved style of leadership, if you will, in situations and in contexts that call for nonprofit leadership skills, in situations that are of public good. So essentially, the core test of whether the context is one that is nonprofit or not, it could vary, but essentially the idea is, does it serve public good? So if the answer is yes, then I would suggest that it could be considered a nonprofit or public service situation. So with that out of the way, the only other important thing I want to discuss with you before we wrap up this introductory video is really the expectations. What are the expectations that I have of you? What are the expectations that you can have of me? One of the most basic things is to be engaged as a student, as a learner, and know that each one of us has something to teach to the other. Whether you may have stuff to teach me, I may have stuff to teach you. Having been more familiar with this content, I may have a little better grasp of the material. It doesn't mean that I know everything, or the other students know everything, or that other students, or including yourself, you know nothing. That's not the attitude that we bring to this course. I think the attitude and principle of learning here is of mutual learning. So we all have something to share and contribute, and one must make sure that we are actually contributing to this course actively. So active participation on online discussions, and there is a ton of writing here, not exhaustive 20-page papers, but I expect short responses, which could call for a lot of thinking and analytical reasoning, as well as intuitive reasoning. There is scope for even using your insights, because all leadership is not completely rational, as we will discover in this course. So please bring your authentic selves to the table. Feel free to engage with me by email, by phone calls. I'm happy to talk to you during the course, before, and even after, if you need help. And also mutual respect. As I said earlier, we all bring very unique perspectives coming from various backgrounds, as I'm assuming there are in this cohort. So I expect you to respect each other's ideas and values and experiences, and engage with mutual respect. And that's all I'm asking for. And I think if you do that, there's no reason why you will not do well on this course. The grading criterion is on the syllabus. If you have any doubts or questions, feel free to email me. I'm extremely accessible by email, and I'm happy to engage with you by phone or WebEx or other means as necessary. So I look forward to engaging with you, and for each of the modules I have a separate lecture. But with this, we come to an end with our first introductory video or lecture. I look forward to engaging with you in the next weeks. Thank you.